welcome to my review of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stardust Crusaders episode 47, part 3 of Dio's World. Last week was the appetizer to the Jotaro and Dio fight. Next week, of course, will be the dessert. But this week is the main course. And it was delightful. It really was. But before I get to that, I know many of you guys want me to talk about it. The opening. There were some changes made in the opening. When you get to the end of part, Dio shows up, says "The world," and he stops the freaking song. They actually show him and the world in full this time, and it's just him walking past Jotaro, getting into position, and he had this smirk on his face. It was just silent, and all you hear is Dio's footsteps. But then the song resumes, and then you see Star Platinum and the world attacking each other. The Japanese writing for Ora and Muda like fly across the screen. I freaking fangirled when I saw this opening. It was so great. Now, thank you, Pepe, for telling me this. Apparently, it's not David's production who made the opening. It was another animation studio called Kamikaze Doga. Yeah, they've been doing all the openings on JoJo, and I really gotta give them kudos for this one because this was very well done. Alright, now the episode, it continues off with the ora ora ora, muda 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 attacks, and then Jotaro and Dio start levitating. Because they're stand users, I guess. Okay, I can buy Dio doing it, especially since he's a vampire, so yeah, he can do it. But Jotaro? Since when can he levitate like that? Is it because of his stand? Like, I don't know how he's doing that. Eventually, the world punches Star Platinum in the face, and Dio activates Zaweldo Tokyo Tobare because he's done testing him and he's gonna go in for the kill. But before he can do that, he noticed that Jotaro's finger twitched, and he freaks out because he thinks that Jotaro can move within the stopped time, which actually he can. Yeah, apparently Jotaro and Star Platinum can move for only a moment when time is stopped because him and Dio have the same types of stands. So because the world and Star Platinum are the same type, they both can move when time stops. But since this is the second time that Jotaro was affected by the world, he was able to adapt very quickly even though he could only move for like a moment in the second time. I guess in a way it makes sense. I mean, there are some stands that might have like the same type, but does this also apply to any other stands out there that are also the same type as Star Platinum in the world? Can those stands also move within the stopped time or something? I don't know. I'm still trying to like accept this fact or not, but apparently Jotaro can move within the stopped time. But he did have this clever idea to use magnets to fool Dio into thinking that he couldn't. Apparently, while Star Platinum and the world were doing their rush attacks, Jotaro was able to put a magnet onto Dio's wrist cuff, or probably his bracelets or something, whatever. Although I was surprised that Dio didn't even notice at first that he had something on his wrist. I mean, you'd think he would notice that sooner, but yeah. So it actually did work. Dio fell for it, and once again, he was trying to go in for the kill. But Jotaro was able to move for like an instant, and Star Platinum punched right through the world's gut. Now this happened when Dio stopped time for the second time in this episode, and when time resumed, then he sent flying, crashing through the window of an antique store. One of the shards of glass slices off one of his legs. There was this female store owner who was freaking out over this, and I just found this unintentionally funny for some reason. Dio just like sits up and orders the woman to fetch his leg. Personally, I thought the woman should have just ran away, but no, she retrieved the leg, and of course ended up dead because Dio sucked her blood, being able to heal his wounds and recover. Now, Dio did figure out that Jotaro can only move for an instant, so he has another plan, which involves lots of knives. Where the hell did he get those knives? I mean, were they from that antique store? Was there like a case full of knives? Like, where did he get them? I don't know, but it was really cool. So he stops time yet again, even though Jotaro did try to make a run for it by leaping into the air with Star Platinum. Unfortunately, it was too late, and Dio uses the world to throw a bunch of knives at Jotaro. Star Platinum did block a few when time stopped, but it wasn't enough because there was like way too many knives. And when time resumed, Star Platinum tried to like punch the knives away, but he missed a few and some of them hit Jotaro. And while Jotaro was falling to the ground, Dio throws another knife onto his head, but it looked like it hit him over his forehead, like onto his hair or something. I can't really tell, but it was led to believe it hit him on the forehead because you see the blood splatter, but like the positioning of the knife looked like he hit over his head. I don't know. And despite being hit by all those knives and of course crashing to the ground, he's still okay because he stuffed a couple magazines into his clothes just in case Dio was going to throw something at him. Okay, where did he get the magazines? And when did he have time to stuff them into his clothes? And even into his hat? But, okay, whatever. While on the ground, Jotaro decided to play dead and wait for Dio to come closer to him so that he can strike him onto the head because that's the only way to severely damage Dio. However, Dio's not a dumbass. He's playing it safe and he's being careful. So he's going to use a traffic sign to chop off Jotaro's head. Yeah, and I thought Shizuo from Durara was scary. Izaya-kun. Just when he was about to use the sign to chop off his head, Polnareff comes in from behind for a sneak attack, summons Silver Chariot, and stabs Dio right through the head. I fucking love this French guy, I swear. But seriously though, where the fuck has this guy been? I guess he was like waiting all this time for like a sneak attack, but hey, Polnareff shows up, comes in to help save Jotaro. It was great. Unfortunately, Dio was still conscious enough to stop time, move away from the blade, and then punch Polnareff on his side. When time resumes, he's sent flying to the nearest building, unconscious, and it looked like Polnareff was really going to die because Dio was going to finish him off, and I was really scared. I really did not want Polnareff to die. I mean, we already lost Abdul, Iggy, Kakyoin, Joseph. I didn't want to lose another member of the group. But in order to continue his plan and to save Polnareff, Jotaro like twitched his hand slightly, and you know, since vampires have a heightened sense of hearing, Dio heard this, drops the sign, and like jumps to like this one nearby wall pile, and just observes Jotaro. I guess he can like deal with Polnareff later, but he knows that Jotaro can move within his stopped time, so he wants to deal with him first. So he's trying to like wonder if Jotaro is still alive or is he just coming to. Unfortunately, these two police officers show up, and okay, I get that they're doing their job, but come the frig on. Seriously, why would you approach Dio? So yeah, Dio punches one officer in the face and plunges his fingers through the other officer's neck and forces him to shoot at Jotaro, but luckily he used Star Platinum to catch the bullet. Yeah, those two are dead, I think. I don't know about the one that Dio punched. Maybe he's okay. Barely. But Dio's still not sure if Jotaro really is dead. I mean, he can't hear his breathing because, you know, he was holding his breath. And he tries to hear his heartbeat, but he didn't hear it because Jotaro used Star Platinum to stop his heart. Like, that is crazy because Jotaro would have died by his own stance. I know he's trying to like play dead, no, but that's very risky. And despite all that, Dio was still going to try to chop his head off with that sign. But when he got closer, Star Platinum pumps Jotaro's heart again, trying to like restart his heartbeat. And he managed to do it on time because Dio really did came close to killing Jotaro. So Star Platinum shows up, moves the sign away from Jotaro's head, and he freaking punches Dio right on the head, cracking his skull. And I love the face that Star Platinum makes. You can tell he's like so angry and wants to punch Dio, which he does so, which is actually pretty satisfying, honestly. And apparently that punch was like so bad, Dio couldn't move his body, he couldn't get up. Now, I'm assuming since he hasn't fully adapted into Jonathan's body, severe damage to the head might have allowed Dio to lose temporary control on his body. That or the head wound really affected his movements, I don't know. But he was like freaking out, saying that he felt nauseous, he has a headache. How could this happen? Me, Dio, feeling sick? seriously, seeing Dio being knocked a peg or two in this episode was pretty satisfying. Too bad he stopped time the moment when Star Platinum's fist was close to his head, because that was not a good idea. Jotaro grabs a bucket of gasoline from this one nearby car, pours it onto Dio's body, and he plans to light him on fire. Which totally worked the last 3 times that fire was involved to kill Dio. Well, you know what they say, 4 times the charm. Although personally, I think Jotaro should have just hit Dio in the head again multiple times. That, or slice his head off and then punch his head into multiple pieces until it's like a pile of flesh. But hey, that's just me. But Dio then starts laughing and activates Zawado again, because he was aware that there was a nearby taxi driving by, and he used this time to escape, crawl slowly to the taxi, grab onto it, and then resume time. Toki wo ogokidasu. Jotaro, not letting him get away, uses Star Platinum to throw a knife at one of the back tires of the taxi, making it go out of control, flinging Dio away, and probably killing the taxi driver. Our hero, ladies and gentlemen. But Dio was so determined to get to that place that he decides to go to the sewer, crawling to this nearby manhole cover, opening it, and then Jotaro was there? Okay, I can buy so many things that happen in Stardust Crusaders, even in the last 2 parts of Jojo. But this is definitely something I don't buy. Jotaro was all the way back there at the end of the street. And then he somehow ended up in the sewer? Like, what? It doesn't make any sense. I mean, like, the only explanation I have for this is that Jotaro went into the sewer through another manhole cover, moved to where Dio would be going to in the sewer, waiting for him to open the manhole cover so that he wouldn't escape. That, or he teleported there, or he moved faster than the speed of light just to get there. Well, I guess it really doesn't matter, because his theme is playing, and you know what that means? It's that time yet again. Another Star Platinum beatdown, this time on Dio, and it was awesome. I mean, it wasn't as long as Silly Dan's, but it was even more satisfying. He sends Dio flying, which turns out it was all part of his plan, because he intended to get hit by Star Platinum, but just to get to this certain location, saying, "You have lost in the battle of wits against me, Dio." This scene actually came unintentionally funny to me, because while he's like flying towards the other side of the street, he was still talking to Jotaro, and I guess Jotaro was able to hear him. So it turns out that that street they were in was familiar, and Jotaro realized this, but it was too late, because as the smoke cleared when, you know, Dio crashed onto the ground, his injuries were fully healed, because he landed on the exact goddamn location that Joseph was, and he was able to suck his blood. God freaking damn it. I mean, it was bad enough that Joseph had a knife to the neck, but now he gets his blood sucked by this goddamn vampire? Fucking hell. And for those of you who said, don't worry, Joseph's fine, he's not dead. If he didn't die from that knife to the neck, I'm pretty sure he would die from having his blood sucked by Dio until his body was completely bone dry. What makes matters worse is that since he has Joseph's blood, his scar is now healed, he's fully adapted into Jonathan's body, and round 2 will begin in next week's episode. So yeah, overall, this was a really, really good episode. Probably better than last week's, because holy crap, Jotaro versus Dio was a really awesome fight. I mean, not only did we get Star Platinum and the world attacking each other going fisticuffs, but we also get some cunning plans courtesy of not only Jotaro, but of Dio as well. And that's what I really like about this fight. Seeing like what kind of plan they would come up, or some kind of trick that they would pull, just so that they can gain the upper hand. Now, it was really satisfying that Dio was knocked down a peg or two, because, well, let's face it, Dio was so pompous in this episode, but he is a really cool villain. Dio is the kind of villain that you love to hate him, but for me, he's one of the coolest villains I've seen so far in anime and manga. I know there are going to be some better villains out there in Jojo. I'm still waiting on Yoshikage Kira, but for me, Part 3 Dio is a really good villain. In fact, I like Part 3 Dio more than Part 1 Dio. And Part 3 Dio only like showed up finally in like 3-4 episodes. Even though he's the one that talks the most, he gets the most monologues, he actually backs it up with his actions. He actually puts in that work. He gets stuff done. He's not a villain that would constantly ramble on and on and on. And that's what I appreciate about this. And I also did like Dio being cautious, and you can definitely see him breaking slowly. Like, he was freaking out, but he usually like regained his composure, and of course that maniacal laugh of his. And I guess I didn't really talk about this in last week's episode, but the world's appearance. It's a humanoid, muscular stand clad in golden armor, and he even has heart designs too, which I think is one of the coolest stands because of its ability to stop time. I really like the magnet trick that Jotaro used to trick Dio, just so that he can lure Dio and finally land a hit on him. That was great. And the Star Platinum beatdown, as always, was very satisfying. Now, the scene when Star Platinum punches Dio, there was an x-ray where you can see Dio's skull, the top portion of his skull breaking into a bunch of pieces. Although what I find funny is that if you look closely at his skull, it has a heart design on the center of his forehead. So I was like thinking, is the headband like a part of his skull? Is it like a part of his head or something? It was kind of funny. Animation for the most part has been good, but I've been noticing more and more that there are scenes with Dio's face that look very off. I mean, in one scene, like if you look closely at Dio's face, like his eyes are slanted like so narrowly that his eyes nearly look like lines. It was actually the part when he uses the world to throw that one knife at Jotaro. This one scene when Dio was talking about showing no mercy to the Joestar bloodline, there was a montage of flashbacks back in Phantom Blood when Dio fought against Jonathan. I thought that was a nice touch. And of course there was a flashback. I thought it was really interesting and cool to see. It was also great to see Enya again. Nukazaku was there, so I guess that explains why Dio keeps him around, so that he can use him to test his stand's ability. And in the flashback, that's what happens. He was testing the world, and this was when he first discovered that he could stop time. And according to Enya, he has to believe that he could stop time, that it's very natural to him. It has to be as natural as breathing. So I guess if he keeps on doing that, he'll be able to stop time as long as he wants. But, you know, since he sucked Joseph's blood, I guess he can stop time for as long as he wants now. As for the scene with Polnareff coming in to save the day, I thought that was really cool. But here's the thing. According to Dio, if, like, Polnareff applied more force through his head, he would have killed him. He would have pierced through his brain, killed Dio, finished part 3. Can we just make Polnareff a freaking Cujo or Joestar? Because I swear to God, he's like the main character. I mean, not only does he get the majority of the fights, the majority of the character development, majority of the freaking emotion, he's the first person to meet Dio, and he's the only one that came close to killing Dio! Before Jotaro! Like, the fuck? Voice acting, once again, was good. It was cool hearing Reiko Suzuki again to reprise her role as Enya. And of course, the music, once again, has been pretty good as always. However, there were some parts that did bug me about this episode. I'm still trying to figure out if having the same type of stand allows you to, like, move within the stop time, which I guess it would make sense. But there was actually this one part that did bug me. It was the part when Dio sucks Joseph's blood, and you see his, like, appearance, it's completely changed. And apparently by sucking Joseph's blood, not only do you get like a haircut, but lipstick as well. Dio was wearing lipstick, like, when? When did he put on lipstick? I don't know. It looked kind of strange to me, but maybe I'll get used to it in next week's episode. By the way, when I said that Dio was going to awaken his final form, I was kidding. I didn't think that Dio's form was going to change, but apparently he did. So now he's even stronger. So how is Jotaro gonna defeat Dio? I honestly have no idea. But I'm really looking forward to seeing next week's episode, which is the final episode. And I'm really sad that this anime is gonna come to an end. But all good things must come to an end, so it's only a matter of time. Now, I did see the preview. Don't worry, it didn't like spoil anything that much to me. Joseph's voice has been heard, so obviously we're gonna see his soul ascend to the afterlife and him talking to Jotaro. It's gonna be so sad. It sucks. And then you hear like Dio's voice and him saying this one line, saying like, how did it go? Saiko ni haite yatsuda. I guess he went mad after sucking Joseph's blood or something. I don't know. But obviously Jotaro is going to win I don't know how he's gonna defeat Dio. I really don't. I feel like he's gonna have to pull off something in order for him to win. But I'm just hoping that when we get to the climax of the fight's not gonna end in bullshit. Because I don't want any bullshit. I just want, like, something really cool, but not bullshit, okay? Speaking of the climax, I know that they're gonna, like, play an opening song during that, so I'm, like, wondering if they're gonna play Stand Proud again. But we've heard that song, like, twice throughout the entire series, so I'm thinking, like, maybe Sonochi no Kyoku or Sonochi no Sadame as a playback to Phantom Blood. I mean, that'd be awesome. Although, it'd be even more awesome if it was the anthology songs version of Sonochi no Sadame. That would have been freaking cool. And since we are going to get the final episode, I'm, like, wondering, like, what kind of teaser that David's production is going to add for Part 4, Diamond is Unbreakable. I mean, are they going to show Yoshikage Kira, who's supposed to be, like, the main villain of Part 4? Are they going to show Jotaro in Part 4? I already know he's alive in Part 4, so it's not really spoiled for me. Or are they gonna show the 4th JoJo, Josuke Higashikata? I don't know, but I'm actually looking forward to, like, the teaser for Part 4. And I really, really hope that they do animate Part 4. I really want to see it, especially all the good things I hear about Kira and how cool he is. That's actually one of the reasons why I want to see Part 4. That and Josuke. And all the other stuff. And something about a bow and arrow, which is supposed to, like, come into play in, like, Part 4. I don't know. And I heard that the origins of stands are going to be further explained in Part 4. So that's another thing I'm looking forward to. So please, David's production, anime Part 4. Once again, overall, this was a really good episode. Definitely one of the better ones. Although I really wish the animation could have been a little better on some parts. But I'm pretty sure it will be on the Blu-rays. And the fight between Jotaro and Dio was delightful. It was such a treat. I'm really loving it so far. Alright, so tell me guys, what did you think of this week's episode of Stardust Crusaders? Did you like it? Did you hate it? What did you think of the fight overall between Jotaro and Dio? Many of you guys who have read the manga probably know how he's going to win, so, like, please keep the spoilers to a minimum. And, you know, speaking of spoilers, there's this one thing that I want to see in next week's episode, which I'm pretty sure is going to come into play later on. It's when Dio throws something at Jotaro. I will say this, it's not a knife, it's something bigger, and it's really cool because I've seen this in the video games, so I'm looking forward to that. Anyway, let me know in the comments below. Be sure to like the video if you liked it and subscribe to more videos, and be sure to check out my Facebook fan page and Google+. So yeah, that is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stardust Crusaders episode 47. I'm going to respond 27, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.